Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. This is the place to be for stories to inspire and uplift when life doesn't go according to our plans. I'm Laura Muirhead, your host and the reigning queen of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I can't wait to share the plot twist stories of my guests that will inspire and uplift you when life didn't follow the plan, right here on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I am Laura Muirhead, your host, and I'm so happy to have as my guest today, Pia Becker. Pia and I recently crossed paths when we were both speakers in Oda Loco, the Oracle and Tarot Lovers Congress. And she has a really fun story. I'm really happy to have her as my guest today. So, Pia, come and introduce yourself. Tell us where you are in the world and what you do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Pia. As Laura already said, we just recently met at the Oda Loco Congress, and it's awesome what happens from there. And yeah, so I live in Düsseldorf, Germany, and at the moment I build my own online business, online coaching mostly. I call myself a dream manifestation mentor. It's still a working title, but we go from there. So I help women to connect to their dreams and help them to make them happen. So that is the reason why I'm doing that and what I love to do for myself. And I love to see when women or people in general follow their dreams and what happens to them when they actually make them happen, and if it comes true, and how they feel and how they change in that journey. That's incredible.
I love the title Dream Manifestation Mentor, because I think so often we don't realize that we might have dreams. I mean, you can probably tell us more with your experience, but I think so many times we have dreams and they just stay as dreams, and we don't bring them into our lives. We think that they aren't going to be reality, or don't realize they could be reality, maybe. Let's start back first before we get to how you, I think this will help understand how you got to where you are being a dream manifestation mentor. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you started to bring your dreams into reality.
So we start sometime in school. I was 13 years old or 14 years old, 7th grade in school, geography. We had a school project that the topic was, so we were separated in different groups, and each group should choose one continent and have a presentation about it, about, I don't know, where is it, what is it, economy, tourism, what are some specialties about this continent. And me and my group, we got Oceania, which is the huge part between Australia and the Americas, all that is in between, all the tiny islands of Tonga, Fiji, French Polynesia, and all that stuff. This is what we called Oceania in when we were at school. And this was kind of a turning point, or I was so fascinated by this entire territory and all those islands that this dream raised in my inner world that I want to travel the world. And from there, whenever someone asks me what I want to do in my life or what are my dreams or whatever, it always was traveling and see the world with my own eyes and yeah, see what's going on out there. And yeah, from there it stuck in my head, and from there I tried to travel, and this is where it started.
So that's incredible, really, that this has been your dream for so long. And I love that you were so immersed in finding out about an area of the world. My question is, so let's fast forward a bit till when you were older. Were you able to start to travel and see the world like you had dreamed of?
Yes and no. From there, during my teenage years, my university years, and my first job years, I was able to travel, but always only when friends or someone asked me to join them. So that was the main issue why I did some traveling, but not the way I actually wanted to. And whenever I wanted to do something, then no one was there. And yeah, end of the story was that I stayed at home and was mad at them, at the world, and at everyone that I could not travel, at least not the way I want to, because no one wanted to join me and my ideas about traveling. And that drove me crazy. And so yes, on the one hand side, I did some traveling, like joining my best friend on a Tunisia trip or Gran Canaria, or at one point that was kind of the starting point of the turning point of that. Me and my wrestling buddies, I'm into wrestling, a huge wrestling fan, WWE, TNA, AEW, whenever, if someone listens to that, that is what I'm talking about when I talk about wrestling. They asked me if I want to join them on a WrestleMania trip to Phoenix, Arizona in 2010. WrestleMania is the biggest thing in the world for wrestling fans and for the promotions and everything. It's like the Super Bowl, but for wrestling. And so in 2010, it was my biggest trip at that point. And for just 5 days or so, we went to Phoenix, went to WrestleMania, had the best time ever so far. And from there, yeah, every year again after that, I asked them, do we want to go again? Another WrestleMania? That was kind of, yeah, that trip developed that dream again in me that I want to attend another WrestleMania. And I asked them again and again and again for 3 years in a row and always got a no. And yeah, so what to do now? At some point,
So, do you did you grow up in Germany? Did you always live in Germany?
yes.
So, were you able to travel a little bit in Europe around? Because it seems like the people that I know that live in Europe are able to travel within Europe quite a bit.
Yes, the very first. So I grew up in Eastern Germany when there was still the Berlin Wall and all that. So we were kind of restricted with traveling for the from yeah, I think the first 6 years or so of my life I couldn't travel that much. We always went to Hungary and Bulgaria and things like that. So Eastern Europe countries that somehow we managed to do that, my family and I. And afterwards, my mom, so when everything, the wall was down and everything was united and My mom got a great job that allowed her to organize quite a couple of journeys. So during summer holidays, for example, we once traveled to Greece and things like that. So that was possible. But yeah, that was when I was still a child. And at some point, my mom didn't want to travel anymore. She is not a travel fan. So she, at one day, she chose to not doing it anymore.
So really it was really your geography class that spurred your interest, and then the trip to Phoenix. And so after the one trip, your friends really weren't that interested in traveling to WrestleMania. I think it's so fun that you're a WrestleMania fan, because I you seem so quiet and mellow, and then here you are, like WrestleMania. It seems so fun. It seems funny in a good way to me, that you're a fan of that, and that you are a big enough fan to want to go, to travel over to the United States, to go to Phoenix, to go to WrestleMania. But so after that, your friends really weren't interested again in going.
they said no that often that I again became mad and frustrated and desperate and all the things, that something clicked in my head and I said, okay, now you can do what you want. If you don't want to go there, I don't care anymore. Now I'm doing it by myself. And I swore to myself that within the next 2 years, I will be at least one WrestleMania. And that was summer 2013. And this was a starting point of everything, because before that, I didn't even, it didn't even occur to me that traveling alone could be an option, because everyone was just traveling with friends or family, with their partners and all that stuff. So I didn't had an idea that this could be something. And at that point, yeah, I decided no matter what, I will go there. If someone wants to join, fine. If not, then I'm doing it by myself. And from there, everything unfolded itself in front of me. Like 2 weeks later, literally, the newsletter from WWE popped in my inbox and announced the travel package WrestleMania thing. And I thought, wow, okay, mark the calendar. When is the date when I can actually purchase this travel package with tickets and accommodation and all the things. And yeah, slowly I the awareness that what I could do when I'm on my own. For example, I don't need to restrict myself to 2 weeks only. I could stay longer. I can do what I want. I don't need to book any hotels up front. I could travel around, and all the things came into my mind. And it was literally, it was such a freeing process in that summer and fall and yeah, April 2014, I was sitting in New Orleans in the Superdome, I think it is, and cheered to Daniel Bryan and The Undertaker lost his streak of 21 years in a row winning WrestleMania matches and all those things. And that was so incredible.
It sounds amazing. And New Orleans is a place that even people in the United States dream of. I haven't been to New Orleans. It's somewhere that people that are even in the United States dream of going to. But I want to go back a minute, because it sounds like for me, listening to your story, that what really drove you was just this passion inside of you of, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. There's going to be a way. There's going to be a way. And almost like so freeing when it finally had the realization of, well, I could just go.
Yeah.
I could just go. I don't
Yes.
have to rely on all these other people. I could just go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in general in life, that this is not just applies to travel, but to whatever. We have to put ourselves first. And I imagine for most people, it is more comfortable, more um, safe, secure in your mind to travel with at least one other person.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, to travel by yourself, you don't have to worry about what do you want to do? Where do you want to go to dinner? You can go where you want.
Yeah.
So I have questions. One
Mhm.
of them is when you went on that trip to New Orleans to WrestleMania, did you stay longer after that? Did you stay and do other things for a bit?
Yes. So I arrived on a Wednesday in New Orleans, and WrestleMania was for the weekend and the last event on Monday. So I left New Orleans on the following Tuesday by car. And then I haven't booked anything yet at that time. And I had so the plan was that I have to be in Florida, Disneyland, Florida, Orlando, at some point near the end of the 2 weeks that I had, because my flight to another place was right after there. And I had the choice between going straight to Florida or stay a little bit longer in New Orleans. And so from the map, when you have the map in front of you, going right or go left. And spontaneous decision was, oh, why not going to Louisiana first? So the rest of Louisiana. And on that day when I left New Orleans, I ended up in Lafayette, Louisiana. And surprise, surprise, somehow I ended up in the next city of another WWE event after the WrestleMania stuff. And yeah, I
Love this. I love this
immediately went to
story.
the stadium and got a ticket and had another wrestling show on my way. And yeah, so a little bit more Louisiana first, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, before I went to Florida and did all the Gulf Coast cities like Pensacola, Apalachicola, for example, the best oysters ever. If anyone needs some advice on oysters, go there. And yeah, Tallahassee, I went up to the Capitol building and went also to a Comic-Con in Tallahassee because I looked something to do there, and there was not that much except of a Comic-Con. Okay, why not? And yeah, eventually I went to Disneyland in Orlando, and the final piece of that road trip was dropping off my car, enter a plane off to the Bahamas for another week in just a little house that I rented, and then just relax and so on. So
This
that's
is amazing.
still
This is,
one
I
of
think,
my top 3 trips ever.
I would think that for our listeners that this would be really inspiring because you really, obviously you had certain things that you wanted to hit and, places you had to be. But I feel like, especially when you were trying to decide where do I go next from New Orleans, do you feel like that was just sort a intuition, an intuitive hit that was leading you the other way, and then another oh, surprise, here we are at WWE, another fun event? And do you feel like that was maybe listening to your intuition type of situation?
I think so. Even if it wasn't, if I wasn't aware of that at that moment, but I think it was my intuition. Like it's it's like what looking at it and have such a feeling that okay, Florida, I will be there anyways. Yeah, we take the chance to see something else. So it and then exactly choosing the same city somehow. Yeah, that definitely was an intuition thing.
And then to be at Comic Con and these experiences that you had, how fun, really fun. I think there was potentially a lot of intuition going on there, just leading
Yeah.
you. And, but also, at least from me listening to your story, it sounds like you were also open to the idea of, receiving and accepting and of new adventures of why not go to this? If it wasn't something you wanted to do, you didn't have to, but why not? You wanted to experience it, and just being open to different ideas.
Yes, definitely. I love to do new things or experiences and meet new people and try food. I love food, so I love to try all kinds of food and yeah, so definitely I'm kind of adventure seeker.
It sounds like it. And then that's one of the things that when my husband and I have traveled to different places, we kind of like to go off the path a little bit to the local things and meet people and try local restaurants and really experience whatever it is, whether we're in another country or whether we're here in the United States. Because even I'm sure you've realized from your travel in the States that every area has so many different things to offer that it's for us, it's really fun to meet people from the area and not just do the quote unquote touristy things and really find out about the area and the different things that are going on there.
Yes, that's the best. I mean, the touristy stuff, yes, okay, it's nice to see and it's always fun to see, but best is always when you really get in touch with the people and follow their recommendations, maybe get that in touch that you meet up again at one day and see how it goes on. And on that trip, for example, in New Orleans, the first day I met some other guys who went there for WrestleMania, and we still meet up every WrestleMania when afterwards, so still today. And that is so incredible. I mean, making friends while traveling is such a beautiful thing. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, especially when you go to something like that that you have a common interest in that you can carry out through your life. That's really beautiful. So, one of the things I want to ask you, and I think our listeners would be interested in, at, I feel like a lot of people not only would be hesitant to travel alone, but especially a woman alone to travel. And it's really nice that you are adventurous that way. But is there any tips or things that you would want to share with people when they are traveling alone?
Um, Listen to your gut, to your intuition. Try to listen to it. Especially when it comes to safety. Everyone that I'm talking, telling that I'm traveling alone mostly, they always have the now I miss the word when they are afraid that something happens to me, something I get hurt or robbed or whatever. In the end, it's the same thing as if you walk through your own city. Don't take the dark streets that give you a bad feeling. It's
Right.
basically the same thing, just because you are at a different location or a different continent, maybe even it, your intuition won't change. It will give you that weird feeling or the sensation or whatever, the voice in your head, or I don't know what. Don't go that direction, but the other one, and then just take care. And if I mean, sometimes listen to reports as well, like when it's commonly known that areas are dangerous or something, then just don't go there. Or I don't know, South Africa is still known for not going out at night, especially not when you're alone. Okay, then don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think also if you are afraid, let's just bring the law of attraction into this. If you are afraid and those are your thoughts that you're afraid, then what will you attract? And if you are confident in when you're walking around and you're sightseeing, or even confident in what you're doing in your hotel or where you're staying, I think that shows that the confidence, that your energy shows that, and people are like, oh, she's confident. And also I think when you're talking about meeting people, and that also, like, maybe meet someone that you've become friends with as you go along, and if they invite you with a group to dinner or something, then yes, you people see you with a group of people, you're not really alone in that situation or whatever as well.
That's true. That is, by the way, another thought that a lot of people have, that they think they will be lonely when they travel alone. But from my experience, I can say it's mostly the contrary, because especially when you are alone, people are way more confident to approach you for a chat or a talk, or I don't know, when you go to a bar in the evening, sit at the bar and have just a beer or something. It's the best way to get in touch with someone, because there's always someone left or right who is there as well, and maybe even alone as well. And then you can get in touch, and you definitely are not lonely, and at that evening at least. And so you can there, yeah, for me, it's still the best traveling alone, to get in touch with new people instead of traveling with someone. Then you don't sit at the bar and get in touch. You go straight to a table and sit with your travel buddy or whoever is traveling with you, and then that's it. And no one else will come to your table and say, hey, hi, I'm John from I don't know where, and I'm here for WrestleMania as well. That won't happen. And so if anyone is concerned of being lonely while traveling alone, that is usually not the case.
Well, and again, I feel like it's just this idea of being open to the experiences and open to meeting people. And if you're traveling, hopefully you are open to, if you're not open to this, maybe stay home. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's better if you just stay home. But for you, and the idea of traveling and the adventure and the meeting people. So tell me what you said, that trip was one of your top three. What are your other top trips that you enjoyed?
Another one was that was not a solo trip, to be honest. It was 2008, I think, my first Morocco trip with my boyfriend at that time. He is Moroccan, and he wanted to get to know his own country a little bit more, and he invited me to join him. And that is still one of the top other three. Yeah, we went to his home where his parents live the most of the time, and from there we went to Fez by car or by bus first, and then rented a car and went further down to the south yeah, it was basically like a little road trip in Morocco. And because he could speak the language, he is Moroccan, he's even one of the Berber part of the people there. And so he was immediately able to connect to the other local people, and this opened up a lot more opportunities to us. Yeah, we slept under the bare sky. We could see the stars on top of us. We went to an oasis, slept there overnight. We got 3 raindrops in the desert, so the really rare event. And yeah, it was also the first time that I went to Marrakesh. Yeah, so it was really magical trip. And the third one is always a little bit up and down for it. It's changes over the time. And I think at the moment, I'm not sure which one it is. I have a couple of other categories, like the most or the biggest one or the most spectacular one or the most exotic one. So I have a couple of criteria or categories. Yeah, I
What's
think
the most exotic one? I mean, because Morocco sounds pretty exotic. What was there one that was, what would you say is your most exotic trip?
um, I have top 3 there as well. First is Cuba, a road trip through Cuba. Another one was last year when I went back to Morocco for a 12 days hike through the Sahara. So 200 kilometers yeah, we literally hiked through the desert. That was kind of exotic. And in 2020, I had the chance, before the entire COVID and Russia situation has started, to go to Russia, into Russian Karelia, which is near the Finnish border, to do a husky expedition. So literally husky dog sledding and for 12 days through the woods and sleeping outside in tents by with minus 30 degrees and things like that. So kind
That's
of exotic as
incredible.
well.
That's incredible. Yeah, I would say you've had a lot of really fun adventures. I think that you should write a book of all your adventures. Maybe you are, but that's incredible. I have been to, my relatives are Finnish, and so I've been to Finland 3 times. And one of the times that we went, twice I was there in the summer when it's
Mhm.
obviously beautiful and comfortable temperatures. And then the one time we went it with my son in March for their winter break. And it was so funny because people here, people that I knew in the States were like, oh, wasn't it cold? And I was like, yes, but I knew it was going to be cold. So I packed appropriately,
Yeah.
like, but I can't even imagine like sleeping in tents and things during the winter months there. That would be incredible. That you really, and then the opposite of that, hiking through the desert. You've definitely had all different experiences, and it's amazing. So I want to know, I am curious about, is this what led you? Are these the experiences that led you to want to mentor other people in manifesting their dreams as well?
Definitely. That is one of the reasons why I want to, yeah, I just want to have other people as well having such incredible experiences, and especially when they want to do things that they can't necessarily do while being here in their home country or while doing their jobs or whatever. So many people are caught in their daily lives, and they when they would sit still and listen into their inner self, somehow they might find a place where they are not so happy as it would seem like. And I just want people to be happy and don't live just a common general whatever life just because everyone else is doing that, or if they got told that you have to have a good education, then a good job, then start a family, settle down, buy a house, get some kids. If that is what they want, fine. I'm totally fine with that. But a lot of people that I met so far, it's okay, but it's not what they actually have wished for their lives. And I mean, you don't need to quit your job immediately just because you want to travel the world and see everything. You can start small and do both at the same time. I mean, there are some holidays usually. Start with small trips and then go from there and see how it develops and how you develop and grow. And after a couple of years traveling the world during your vacation time, then suddenly you find out that you want to develop yourself as well and crush the borders of your general or daily job and do something else. And this is what happens with me over the time. While with all the travelings and all the experiences, I have grown so much that I want to share with the world as well. And that's why I sit here now.
So this is another thing. I feel like a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to travel," but then when you say, "Well, where would you like to travel to?" they they don't have an answer.
Yeah,
So
that's weird.
would
To
you?
me, it's weird, but yes, that's happening. So
So what
crazy.
would your advice be to someone who says, "Oh yeah, I want to travel"? Would it be? I mean, what would your advice be to someone to find where they would potentially want to travel to?
A difficult question. Yeah, I think it's I think I would start asking questions like what they like, what, for example, what food they like, what kind of, so if there is a documentation on TV, for example, what would it be about? Like, is it more the Asian topic or the US topics or whatever? And or yeah, what interests they have, languages, for example, or things like that, and then try to figure out if there is a pattern, and then you can say, okay, that you, I don't know, your husband is Portuguese. Have you been to Portugal, for example? Why not start there, visiting his country or his parents, maybe, I don't know, and then start there. It don't need to be the I don't know, Antarctica trip from the beginning. You can start small, and even if it's just visiting the neighboring city, that's also traveling already. And from there, maybe you meet someone from I don't know, Japan or something, then maybe this meetup or this experience sparks something inside you that you want to go to Japan one day.
Yeah, maybe you go to a museum and see something at a museum that sparks your
Mhm.
interest for another country, or the art at a museum that maybe there's an artist you fall in love with and you want to go to their, see where they lived, and yeah, or maybe you want to go to see where a musician or someone like Beethoven or Bach or someone, where did they grow up, because you have an interest in their music. Yeah, there's all kinds of different things that could lead you. I agree with that so much. uh one of the things that I want to I have a question about for you when you're talking, because you have had so many experiences. Have you ever thought of having retreats and bringing people along so that they could experience an area, and have you, with all of your experiences, be a guide to not, even if it's somewhere you haven't been, be a
Mm.
guide to help them experience something?
Definitely, yes. That's so retreats in general is definitely a point on my still to come dream list. And one of the also one of the ideas is that I maybe offer a kind of service that you can book me for your travel buddy or something like that. If you really don't want to travel alone, or at least not the first time, that I can join you, you book me and I am there and guide you and through the situations and help you to do, or you to prepare yourself for doing things alone and things like that. So that is an idea that I'm playing around with actually.
I think that sounds amazing, especially because you are up for adventure. So if somebody were to say whatever, and but also I was thinking that when we were talking just a minute ago about where people would like to go, and you were saying like, what are your interests? So maybe if you're not interested in being cold and sleeping in a tent, don't go on an adventure like that to Russia, to Estonia or something like that, or to Alaska where they have the sled dogs in the winter. Maybe stay away from something like that. If you like to relax and sit in the sun on a beach, maybe go like you to the Bahamas or something like this. Don't go where you don't want to go. But I love this idea of you opening your calendar to be a travel buddy with people and experiencing some area. That is amazing. But I also want to touch on the idea, well, not the idea, but the fact that you are involved with tarot readings and oracle cards, and how do you bring that in? Also, how do you combine all of the things into what you do?
It's it's part of the programs and the offers that I have, besides the actual tarot readings or something like that. But it's also part of, for example, I very soon, end of the month or beginning of the next month, I want to do a late New Year's workshop thingy. And I, in such occasions, for example, you could easily involve the tarot by pulling some cards and asking questions like, what is ready to be left behind you, or what should you focus on 2024 for doing or invite, or things like that. And when it comes to any kind of mindset coaching, for example, it's you can ask the cards, what are the blocks that at the moment stop you from actually follow your dreams? What are your fears that stop you from doing that? And how can you release them? How can you clear them? How can you find a way to let them be aside and do it anyways? So such things, that in my opinion, the tarot is very, very helpful and very insightful, and it helps me a lot with my own stuff. And I think it's definitely benefits others as well.
I think that it sounds like it's a really good marriage between, to help open up dream manifestation. It is working, like you said, through blocks and through what's the potential, what could you work on to open up, like even like we were talking about, to open up your energy to receiving or to getting to the bottom of what you really want, what your desire, your passion, whatever, what's getting in your way of following that even. So I feel like that's a really great marriage that you have there of those things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think your workshop, the the one that you're putting together, I think that sounds amazing as well. So very nice. Um, I I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to ask you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners and our audience today?
Um, yeah, I think the most important thing is that don't let yourself being stopped from following your dreams, whether it's your family, your friends, your community, or even the inner voice that sometimes, often enough, comes up in yourself. Don't listen too much to it. Just follow your dreams and make it happen.
I love that. That's beautiful. And I think I'm just having a thought back to what you were first talking about too, is how angry you were when people wouldn't like listen to that as well. Like, unfortunately, like if you're being agitated or irritated or angry about something that's not happening in your life, maybe that's the indication that you need to move through that to what you do want, to allowing that to come. Sometimes we don't listen to the passion, but we're see the anger, the agitation as more in front of us. And maybe that's the sign that you need to go, okay, wait, how can I change this? And it's unfortunate, but yeah, I really feel like for you that you obviously didn't let go of your dream, you didn't let go of your passion, and eventually were able to open that door and knock down whatever blocks were there to see the way through to make it happen for yourself. And I think that along those lines, it's also a level of making yourself important, like making your dreams important.
Mhm. Yes, yeah. So when this wouldn't have happened that I get so angry. I mean, today I know it wasn't the fault of the other people. They had their lives and did their things, but didn't it didn't mean that they don't like me or something like that, but they just have different interests than I had at that time. And but at that moment it was such a strong feeling of being rejected because no one wanted to travel with me. And I thought that they don't want to travel with me and not because they had other priorities or different ideas or whatever. And yeah, so yeah, at some point I just put my anger aside and said, okay, this is my dream, so I am the one who has to make it come true, and not the others. Obviously, I can't rely on them because they have their own lives, and the only one who can do it is myself in that moment. And
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's a good place to wrap up, a beautiful place that we are the ones responsible for our own dreams.
Mm.
I am going to share with us before we finish where the listeners and people watching our audience can find you, a website, Facebook page. Of course, I put all the links in the comments, but uh, what's the easiest place to get in touch with you?
The easiest one is first my website. It's called dreamandwanderland.com. And yeah, you can easily sign up for my newsletter there and find my contacts there. And probably Instagram is the second best one. There, I'm pretty active there, and you can DM me or like my post and all the stuff. And
so it's Dream and Wanderland with an A, not Wonderland, just to clarify that if you're listening, and it's Dream and Wanderland.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, Instagram handle is also Dream and Wanderland.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Pia. I love having you and talking with you and hearing about your adventures. I want to know more. I know I think you're coming to the States in the spring, and I hope we can connect. You're not going to be far from us here in New Jersey, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you there. I really appreciate you sharing your story, or a funny thing happened on the way to my life adventures. And I really want to thank our listeners today as well.
Thank you for having me and letting me be here.
It's so fun to have you. And especially when our paths crossed kind of serendipitously, through the Congress. So yeah, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing your stories again. Thank you for listening to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. For more information, visit my website at www.lauramuirhead.com.